radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Fission radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear. Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Today is August 1st, 2017. I can't believe we're like this far into 17. Life goes faster, I guess, when you get older. Today we have with us a guest that we had on recently. He's a new activist. His name is Jerome Hebert. And we were on the line, and he was in a really bad place that we couldn't hear each other. So he asked me to give him a call back in a few minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's see if we can get Jerome in on the line here. Because the line, I called him on his telephone line, and he was not in a place where the reception was very good. So we've decided we're going to do this again. So let's see if we can get him on the line. Hold on.
Hello.
Good morning, Jerome. How are you? We're all on the air here.
Hi there. How are you?
Thank you for joining us here on the Age of Fission. Yeah, that's great. So listen, you and I, the last time we spoke on the air, we were talking about how you're sort of new to actually being on YouTube. I don't think you're a new activist, but I think you're new on YouTube, right? So one of the things, I've been watching your YouTube videos, and you've been really going after making videos as you uncover the calamity that we find ourselves in, right? So my question that I really wanted to talk to you about today is, you live in Fort Collins?
Correct, Colorado.
Yeah, how far away is that, literally? Do you know from Rocky Flats, as the wind flies?
As the wind flies, I would say 70 miles.
North, south, east, west?
North right now. However, I grew up literally 5 miles due east of there, a little north and due east. So,
wow.
Yeah, I was heavily dosed as a kid.
What about your parents? Are they alive?
Both dead.
What did they die from?
Both of heart disease.
Yeah, well, that's what radioactivity causes, is heart disease. That's kind of, don't you think that, I think this is the shocking part about it. I found an article that Carl Grossman wrote, and the article was talking about how we're expected to just accept that nuclear radiation is not so bad. He wrote an article in 2015, says, "Radiation is good for you and other tall tales of the nuclear industry," September 8, 2015, on Carl Grossman's website, Carl with a K. Okay. He has a quote in here from Dr. Alvin Weinberg, who I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I've quoted him many times. In fact, I read his article. He in 1972, in 2010, there was a new article disclosed by the government that he gave in 1972. It was a speech he gave to a group of nuclear scientists involved in the Manhattan Project, actually, in which he called themselves for the first time the nuclear priesthood. He's the one who coined that phrase. That's where they call them nukies.
That is very frightening that they would consider themselves.
Well, listen to what he says. In fact, this is what he declared in the New Scientist magazine in 1972. Dr. Alvin Weinberg, Carl Grossman quoted him. He was the director of Oak Ridge National Laboratory, declared in the New Scientist magazine in 1972. Quote, if a cure for cancer is found, the problem of radiation standards disappear.
Oh, no.
That's when they began to really push that theory of nuclear hormesis, that if you just get exposed to nuclear radiation, our bodies will acclimate and it won't become harmful anymore.
Totally, 203. I think that's totally.
Yeah, we don't need our DNA, do we?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, what is your experience with actually being engaged now much more fully as a quote I call us nuke truthers, but they call us anti-nukers.
Right. My experience with what? And I lost you there for a second. I'm sorry, Lonnie.
That's all right.
I'm actually, at the moment, I was at 7-Eleven. I'm getting a cup of coffee. I'm trying to find a small grassy spot, which I have my eye on, where I can sit down and really focus on this interview. And I'm sorry. I apologize. I am homeless and living on somebody's couch and in the midst of changes in my life. So we are less than 30 seconds from Jerome being in a
Well, you know what,
Jerome,
Jerome, I say to do? Then you know what my answer to that is? Start tapping on the top start of your forehead and start saying to yourself that the answers are going to appear, and you just tap. That's what I do. Tap on the top of my head when I get overwhelmed like that. Like I just tap. And you just ask for a miracle. You just tell yourself, you know what? And you see the thing that you want. Because we're sort of in this is one of the reasons I have this show, to be honest. And I'm grateful for your spontaneity and your honesty, because that matters. It matters that we help lift each other up. You know what I mean? Many of us have been, in fact, a lot of people right now, this is an underlying current, I think, of the nuclear movement. Many people are struggling. Many people are barely keeping their head above water. And it's and especially in an environment where we live, where landlords can just, boom, throw you out. I mean,
that's what mine did.
Without, no cause. I know in Oregon, they can just throw you out. My landlord yesterday said his accountant is trying to talk him into selling the place where I live. So. Yeah. And in the meantime, we're the people talking about nuclear pollution. And if you're being homeless, this is the other thing, very important. If you're homeless, keep yourself out of the rain. Make sure that you get a hat. I mean, for real, get a good hat with a wide brim to keep it off of your shoulders, off of your face, so that when it rains, you keep yourself covered. Because really, if you're homeless and you're really, bumming around and sleeping, couch surfing for a little while, you're going to be out in the rain a lot more than other people. And it's
true, and the sun.
Yeah. But you know what? There's a certain freedom, at least it's summertime. Thank God for that, because hopefully by the winter you'll find a place to sleep that's permanent,
The ironic thing about this entire experience, it has really and truly, Lonnie, given me a really sincere appreciation for just the smallest things in life. The rain, my life, my health, just my ability, vision, community with peace.
Jerome, you're breaking up there, brother. Jerome, you're breaking up. Can you hear us properly?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, sorry.
Are you sitting under a tree?
I am. Let me move a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Picnic table, not under a tree.
That's all right. We have about 50 minutes left. I wanted to talk to you about your experience as an anti-nuke activist, though, because it's kind of interesting how the energy behind it, as a person who speaks truth to the nuclear harm, that's why I call us nuke truthers, because I came up with this about 9 or 10 months ago. I don't want to be anti anything. I want to just speak the truth about what we're living in. And the truth is, we're living in around a bunch of nuclear contamination. It's not Rocky Flats. Right here in Oregon, 60 miles from where I live is ATI, which one of my guests, Hope Castor, she was a guest on mine, I don't know, 8 or 9 months ago. And she outed the fact that ATI right here in Albany, New York, is one of the, biggest nuclear polluters. It's a huge nuke waste site. It's a fuse wrap site, as a matter of fact. And it's right here in Oregon, in anti-nuclear Oregon, right there. So it's everywhere. And Fukushima interesting, I saw a video of a woman who went to Fukushima, or some little town in Fukushima, put the Geiger counter to the floor, and it was really low. She's like, nope, no radiation here. Well, the kind of Geiger counter that she got is not the kind that you can just go in. And you have to leave a Geiger counter down if you want to get a good reading for 5-10 minutes to let it stabilize, especially the type that she had. So what's happening is in Fukushima, they're giving people equipment and letting them rent them, but you go in and then what? I don't know. I think we need to just stop the testing and just go, it's here. Oh, man, Jerome, we are seriously losing you right there. I cannot hear you.
Okay, let me unplug my headset.
Yeah, maybe that will help.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, a million times better. Perfect.
Okay, it's the headset. All right. I apologize for that.
I'll stop apologizing. It's okay. You're entitled to be human.
But yeah, what I realized, I did a video recently about ocean dead spots.
Yeah.
What is an ocean dead spot? And my investigation found that the entire southern end of Japan, from Tokyo all the way down and around and back up, the west coast of Japan is all a dead zone now, as well. Most of the area north of Fukushima and even some of the area directly adjacent.
The east coast or the west coast of Japan?
Both coasts.
They're dead zones. They're both dead zones.
It goes all the way, yes.
You know what? We're going to have surfing down there. They're having surfing down by Tokyo Bay.
Right. Yeah, wow. The Tokyo Bay is heavily tritiated.
I know. It's really bad.
Heavily tritiated, and what did they tritium? They haven't even been attempting on any level.
Have you found any information about the incinerators? Because I know you're spending a lot of time researching now, because you're making a lot of videos about all the different spots and all the things. So have you heard anything about the Fukushima incinerators? In one of my videos where I did an investigation of the solid waste issues that were associated with the Fukushima disaster and all the bags on bags on bags, I did run across this big thing, and I'm like, what is that? It has a 250-foot stack on it. Oh, my God, that's an incinerator. And you can see the piles of all the debris from the local area, all the building debris, and all the anything flammable, all the grasses, all the that's what they're doing, burning it all. The whole idea is to disperse the radiation evenly. And then you can't blame anybody in specific. See the thinking behind the nuclear industry here? If you just spread it evenly all over the place, and you can't blame anybody, can you? That's right.
You can't blame this cancer on radiation. How do you know it's radiation? That was 30 years ago.
Exactly. And not only that, but they also say you can't identify where it comes from. So what's the point? Do you know what I asked a science student I was, and they were talking about it, and they actually gave me they were a proponent of nuclear science. And I said, well, why aren't they testing for plutonium? He's like, because we can't tell if it's from World War II. And I'm like, so wouldn't you like to know if we have plutonium everywhere? Like where exactly, how much plutonium? I mean, are we just going to accept the fact that we now have, when we say nuclear contamination, that's such a generic name. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is the industry's way of even it all out of what if you even have the disease, if you even have statistics.
Jerome, you're
even have
really
numbers.
breaking up. You are seriously breaking up there.
Okay, can you hear it?
No. Why don't I give you a call back in a minute, and we'll see if I can get a better connection, and maybe you can come out.
Yeah, let me bike half a mile to another spot.
Okay,
I'll get closer to
I'll
downtown.
call you in 2 minutes or 3 minutes,
Thank
or you call
dear.
us. You call us. Just call us right back.
Well,
at the same number.
At this number?
Yeah, just call back.
Okay.
It's 718-717.
And if I'm not able to, you go ahead and just call me, and I'll answer. But I'm gonna head towards town more.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk to them about this Carl Grossman article because it's quite fascinating, and then I'll call you back. We have about 45 minutes left. So when you get stopped,
you for your patience.
Jerome, when you get stopped, would you text me, send me a text, and say I'm settled, and I'll call you right back. That's when I'll know you're there.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Uh-huh. Okay, listeners, thanks for hanging in there with us on that one. That was kind of rough, but that sound wasn't working. And so I'm actually going to ask Jerome about if he has a GoFundMe page, because if he's homeless, he got kicked out of his place, he needs some help. Let's get back to this article by Carl Grossman. It was really stunning. Jerome has been doing lots of work. This is why I pulled this up. Jerome's channel, Jerome Aber, it's called the Sane Environmentalist. He's on YouTube. He's kind of a brand new YouTuber, but his videos are sort of shocking. When people first find out about this, when you really dig into it, you're knocked off your socks. And he's done some really good investigative reporting on his videos, talks about and reviews the real information that we can find out. It's not hyperbole. This is real. And that's why I asked him to come on here. And I'm actually concerned that he is homeless and living in nuclear radiation, because when it rains, that's when it comes down. So I pulled up this article because I was really fascinated with the work that he's been doing about all of these, just every one of his videos. And I think it's important for all of us to actually figure out how we can pay attention to it. One of the things you heard me say it a little bit, one of the things that I've decided is I'm going to start calling it by what it is. It's not nuclear pollution. It's plutonium. We have been contaminated with plutonium, and you know why they don't test? Because they can't tell if it came from World War II or current when it got here, because plutonium has been around. But no, I think we have a right to know how much is in. We need a content level instead of just Geiger countering. I mean, we need a full spectrum count of, and guaranteed, they definitely know. This is not something that I lost that article, you guys. Hang on. That's not something that, we're expected to, we're on the need to know basis, and we don't need to know, basically. You guys just keep dying, keep working, keep paying us your money for the insurance, keep making the machine work, keep doing it. And no, you don't need to know. You're on a need to know basis. We're the so-called enemies. I mean, really. I think we need to change our paradigm from having enemies to having challenges. Like this whole concept of we need to have enemies on the planet is not serving anyone. That's for sure. So let me see if I can find that article again. Here it is. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah. Let me move on to this one, because Jerome's going to text us, and I apologize for this. I normally contact people 10, 15 minutes before the show, and we couldn't get a good connection. And I'm going to keep persisting, because if you haven't seen Jerome's work, go to the Sane Environmentalist, because it's pretty interesting. And he does actually talk about the I Ching too. So it's his own interpretation of the I Ching. Mass animal deaths for 2017, July 26th. Listen to this. Thousands of dead fish, quote, mysteriously unquote, found in a lake in Birmingham, England. Mysterious. Don't we love these mysterious deaths? Thousands of dead fish found in a river in Mato Grosso, Brazil. Thousands, hundreds of dead birds line a road in Idaho on July 25th. Hundreds of dead fish found in a lake in Colorado, America. July 21st. Hundreds of dead fish wash up on San Jose Ribamar in Brazil. Hundreds of tons of fish died in fish farms in Lampung, Indonesia. July 17th, 7 dead whales found along Baja California Sur. That is so sad. Like all these animals, do people, oh man, we even lost camels. Hundreds of dying camels in the desert of Qatar. Hundreds of dying camels. So obviously there's something wrong with nuclear. And this idea that if we could just get a cure for cancer, so how do we give the animals the cure for cancer, Dr. Weinberg? For real, what are we going to do with the rest of the planet? I mean, it's a completely insane, I mean, it's to me, it's beyond comprehension that these people actually think that they can just kill and murder. You know, Kevin Blanch is, you know, people give Kevin Blanch a hard time because he rants and raves, but, you know, in a way it's freaking justified because, honestly, it's completely outrageous that they get to lie to us and kill us no matter what. And we're not even testing for nuclear pollution. And the masses, if a person actually talks to you about it, like right now I'm talking to you, my listeners, about it, and some of you are like, oh yeah, here she goes again talking about nuclear pollution. Yeah, because that's the order of the day, folks. I mean, we're literally not even demanding that they tell us how much plutonium is in the air. I mean, we rely on men like Carl Grossman, who wrote an article that says this is almost like laughable. Will Diablo Canyon survive a major earthquake, the next big earthquake? Like, no, it won't. As a matter of fact, the answer is no. And what happens when Diablo Canyon, or even up here, the Cascadia Zone? What do you think is going to happen to Hanford when that friggin' thing cracks? Even if it's in 50 years from now, I mean, are we that self-centered that 50 years from now we are still, like, we don't care what happens 50 years from now? Like those guys that created this and did this to us 20, 30 years ago, they're all dead? Or like that guy, like, oh, I need to make a deathbed confession. Yay, here's Jerome. Hold on just one second. Jerome, are you on the air?
Hi.
Yay, thank you for calling back. Perfect. Thanks for joining us.
And now I got 5 bars.
Yay, good. So now we have a good, strong... You know what I was talking about is like how unreasonable this is, Jerome, that we have accepted a civilization where they can kill us. I went to the animal deaths. I followed this page. It's a prophecy page. It's called endtimesprophecy.org. And she lists animal deaths. And it's thousands today, on July 26th, thousands of dead fish, quote, mysteriously found on a lake in Birmingham. All these mysterious deaths, they're not even counting. They're not telling us how much plutonium is in the air, how much barium. They're not even telling us what's in the dirt, what's in the food. I mean, we live in a culture where literally, if you talk about nuclear, I mean, and as Alvin Weinberg said, okay, so we find a cure for cancer for humans, but what about all the animals?
Yes.
I mean, what about the creatures that we rely on? What about the biosphere? I mean, what do we think is happening?
That is what's gonna be the ender of us. It's not radiation-induced death by plutonium to humans. It will be radiation-induced death to the ecosystem, which causes humans to die off and other species. You know, once you break the base of the food chain, once you get plutonium and tritium and cesium and strontium in the soil, what people fail to realize is the soil is a living biosphere itself. It's its own biosphere, and it is getting damaged by radiation, and it eventually, over thousands of years, will get better and the biosphere will recover, but it will be thousands of years, And I think that's the thing, is that it's such a long-lived thing and it's not an instantaneous, it's not cause and effect, okay? So since there's no direct cause and effect, like, ow, that burnt, watch out for fire. It's like, well, radiation, well, how do you feel? I feel fine, okay. I guess it's okay then, right? That wasn't any worse than an X-ray, or like an X-ray safe somehow. So what it is, we are being brainwashed and slow poisoned on a massive level. And the ecosystem is being destroyed. And that's even more critical to me. I honestly, Lonnie, as much as I love humans and people and other people and interacting, I don't think that we're that important on this planet. Okay, I think that every other thing on this planet is equally as important as us. And
well, that's one point of view. Literally, politically, that's considered an ecocentric point of view. There's other people who have an anthropocentric point of view who believe that it's our right to have dominion over the earth, and that's who has been pushing all the poison on us. Like, let's just be clear about that. They're winning the argument here because they're doing what they're doing. But I want to hear about the bleach. I want to go back to the bleached coast, which you found out about Japan, because that's not even being talked about in many places, at both coasts. Tell us what you found.
Yeah, it's all along. It's basically from Tokyo all the way around the south end tip of the island, all the way back up on the west coast of the island to about where Tokyo is. Is according to this map that I found, the dead zone map. If you Google dead zone map, you'll find this map, and it's in a video that I made. But it shows that there's basically no ecosystem left in that whole southern area. It's all gone. You got to go 20, 30 miles offshore to be able to fish now. All the small fishermen all around Japan are all going out of business because they just can't get to the fish. And the fish they do catch are questionable. And who wants to buy fish from Japan now? So
I know people that still go to Japan.
By that.
I know many people who still eat fish, who still go to Japan, who think that I'm being, hysterical, that I'm being overly cautious. That's what I've been told. You're just being overly cautious. Of course you can eat fish. I'm like, well, not really. Really, that's how I feel. Like, it really is like Russian roulette. Maybe it's okay. I actually heard a Norwegian scientist say this. He said, look, this was right after when I first learned about it. I saw him speaking, and he said, I am Norwegian. Asking me not to eat fish is like cutting off my foot. But I know for a fact that I'm playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets in the chamber. Yeah. That's what it is. It's Russian roulette with 5 bullets in the chamber. So do you want to take that? Not me, not for fish. Frankly, I've gone vegan, to be honest. Like, I can't. Just the way the meat industry is. If it was maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I just can't. The farm industry is just, it makes me sick, and I'm making an effort to buy locally as much as possible. Yeah,
I am of necessity an omnivore. Okay, I eat whatever I can get my mouth on. But I have to. I weigh about 165 pounds. I'm 6 foot tall. I don't have a lot of body fat to lose, and so any opportunity for nutrition, I take it.
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, that's the whole conversation. If you're eating white bread and you were putting in processed foods in your body, that's not nutrition. That's anti-nutrition. That's not food.
Well, it keeps you from dying.
No, it doesn't. It makes you die. It makes you unhealthy. It causes negative stuff. I've been poor, and I'll tell you what. I will tell you this. I was very poor with my 2 children when we were young. In fact, we were homeless. We slept in my car for a month. And I did not give my children box cereal, junk food. Yeah, we went to get free food, but I threw all that stuff out. We didn't need it. I gave it to the neighbors. And I took what they gave us, what was real food. They did give you oatmeal. They will give you flour if you ask for it. I mean, you can, and even if you're like, there's things that you can eat and just eat. I mean, I don't know. I'm very much against, especially if you're poor, to put that stuff into your body because I think it's really unhealthy for us to eat chemicals. And I think it's a major problem.
And sugar.
Well, people want us to blame sugar, right? Sugar. But the problem with sugar is it's highly refined. Like it's just talk about, and it is a monoculture. But the reason we have sugar in everything has to do with the United States government subsidizing sugar. We subsidize to grow sugar to sell everywhere. Our government is a big pusher of sugar farmers. Instead of letting people just have the small farms they want, they're a huge pusher of the mega industries, the health insurance. Our government helped create all these big and mega industries. So that's where it went.
And our government created the nuclear industry in Japan. You know, let's put it this way. There would be no Fukushima right now if the United States had not gone over to Japan right after we destroyed them and said, hey, free energy. All you got to do is let us build these plants.
No,
and the reason
there would be no Fukushima if they had not decided to bring in Operation Paperclip and bring the scientists to America to discover the nuclear bomb. If they would have just let it flounder and let that idea fizzle out for right now, we wouldn't be in this place. But what they did was they picked on, and that's what Dr. Goffman said, we have opened a can of worms, a Pandora's box that we cannot close. Period.
Yeah, every single speck of plutonium that we ever made will be around for the next 250,000 years. At
least, no, it's longer than that.
Well, it's because a half-life of 240,000 years.
Yeah, but that's after that. It turns in. Dr. Edward Gordon says that after that, those daughters turn into things that last 780,000 years,
and that are just as radioactive and unstable.
I mean, this is the thing we're talking about in perpetuity. It's like we might. Yeah. I mean, even 24,000 years.
Half-life lie. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the great half-life lie, because people don't understand the process of nuclear degradation, and so they think half-life means poof, it's gone now. It just somehow magically disappears.
Or it's going to get half as toxic.
Well, no, what it does is half of it will convert or degrade into the next isotope. Okay, and then once that's gone, then half of that will degrade into the next isotope until it's no longer unstable radioactively. Okay, and then you'll have stable isotopes, which are what they are. They oxidize maybe, but they're stable. You know, they don't change into anything else anymore. But that's what half-life is. It's not that it's just going away. It's that it's changing into something else. And what is that something else? You know, do you know what plutonium degrades into? I've actually did a video on that, on half-life and on plutonium degradation. And what does cesium degrade into? They're like, oh, it's only got a 30-year half-life, but what does it degrade into, and what is the half-life of that product? You know, because the more stable it becomes, every time it degrades, its half-life goes up because it becomes more stable. But it doesn't mean it's less radioactive. You know, it's still emitting beta particles, it's still emitting gamma, and that's going to happen.
Well, what does it degrade into? Tell us a brief synopsis of what happens with plutonium quickly, if you remember.
Oh my God, that is way deeper than we could possibly discuss it on a radio show. But I do have a video on YouTube about half-life. You know, that talks about what does plutonium degrade into. There's a chart of the nucleides that you can get, or nuclides, that shows you all the radioactive nuclides and what they evolve into as they go along. But I mean, it's like half of the plutonium will turn into, I think, americium, and the other half turns into something else. And it depends on what happens, because it's not a definite thing. You know, there are variables within the atmosphere or bombardments by neutron sources, for instance, or cosmic rays could cause a half-life of a product to change into something that it wouldn't have normally changed into. See what I mean? It's so fluid. It's a whole fluid process of, we create these hideously unstable atoms, and nature and the universe want stability. They want everything to be at a 0 point, at a neutral point with everything else. And so it will continue to degrade, and eventually will become unradioactive and a stable isotope. Still probably poisonous, but stable, not radioactive anymore. But it all depends. It's not a definite process, I guess you could say. If you had a controlled laboratory, then you could definitely control the process and say, okay, now this is what happens. But
this is the thing.
In the wild,
there's a lot of isotopes. It's not just a handful of isotopes. It's a lot. It's not just
the chart of nuclides is huge. There's a whole spectrum of, I would say there's probably 500 or 600 radioactive isotopes at least. But then they all sit right in the middle of the chart of nuclides. If you look up chart of nuclides, NUCLIDES, it'll bring up a chart, and you can hover over and it'll pop up what each one of these are. I left a link in that Half-Life video to that chart, but that just shows you that there's tons and tons of these things, okay? And for the most part, we created them all. You know, I was watching my tritium video last night, and since I've watched that video, I even kind of forgot just how hideously radioactive tritium is.
Yeah,
did you know that
really bad? Yeah.
2 grams of tritium produce gigabecquerels of disintegrations per second. 2 grams is enough to kill everybody in the city I'm in, I'm sure, if you spread it out evenly. Gigabecquerels from 2 grams. That's like a piece of, if you had the tritium metal, or it's gas, it's hydrogen, but that's like 2 grams is like a half a cubic foot of gas. I mean, it's very, very little. And everybody ignores this stuff. And in Fukushima, it's like, yeah, we can't get that out, so we're just going to have to dump it into the ocean. But it only has a half-life of 18 years.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Everybody's thinking, it's only we'll be okay for 18 years. Yeah, we'll just have to be a little careful.
And we'll keep it cleaned up. We'll keep it cleaned up.
Yeah.
This is the thing that people don't realize, is that it's cumulative. Like,
yes.
But this is I don't know what you, I think, I don't know if you heard yesterday's show, but yesterday Ed was talking about the hive mentality of how we all are interconnected, our thoughts, and how you don't have to ask questions. This is where we're at, this fear of this is why no one wants to talk about having this stuff tested. This is outrageous that we're allowing our government and all these governments to just have a poison out there, and nobody's even testing to see what's in our air, what's in our water. We're arguing over what the results are. Does it cause climate change? Does it not? There is no climate change. Yes, there is. No, there isn't. That's ridiculous. I don't know about you, but The reality is animals are dying. This is what we do know. You can go to the mass animal deaths, and something is happening to our environment that is catastrophic. I mean, you can come to this page. I've been coming here for at least a year and a half now. And this is a stunning testimony, actually, to the harm done on our planet from all of it. It
is, for me, Lonnie, nauseating to have to look at that page. But I do. I go to that page. I know the page you're talking about. I follow the links on that page. I've actually done a couple videos based on the links from that page. And it's a woman. She's wonderful, and she must just be so depressed about life sometimes, having to do that. You know.
This is the thing.
I want to do a bike ride, Lonnie.
I actually don't think we ought to remain in the depressed. I think that's the language that the oppressors want us to use. That's why I think it's really important not to eat their junk. And just it's resistance. I mean, honestly, it is easier to live a life away from their war machine, because that's what they are. They are murder, death, kill. And that's what this is all about. Look what they're doing. All of these animals, do we hear any of this on any news really anywhere? Like
Not a bit.
anywhere. Like occasionally an alternative radio station will talk about the mass animal deaths, but the mass animal deaths, I mean, it's everywhere. It's all around the planet. You can, make a pin map of everything and color it by year, and it would just be stunning. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I was trying to keep track. I actually did.
You know what it might be?
Go ahead.
You know what it might be, Lonnie, is that we have now pushed our ecosystem to the breaking point. And the thing about the ecosystem
that's what Guy McPherson says. We're beyond it.
It's not exactly direct cause and effect. Okay. It takes time, and it seems so slow that some people don't realize it. But once it hits, once the catastrophic is over that tipping point, over the brink hits, it goes very quickly. And, that's it. That's what's going on, is that we have pushed our ecosystem over the brink in a lot of areas with chemical pollutions. Although I'm not a anti-chemical pollution guy, even because I know that doesn't utterly destroy DNA. Okay. It may destroy lives. We'll learn to do better with chemicals, or we'll all die from it. But the rest of the planet will be fine in the big picture. Okay. The more I deal with radiation and radioactivity, the more I realize that I have to deal with the big picture, not my lifetime.
You mean like reptiles surviving?
Children, grandchildren, or no, like 10,000 years from now. Okay?
Well, my question is, will there really be humans in 10,000 years? See, that's that's kind of gives me anxiety. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of sad.
Well, it is, but I think that as humans, we are now starting to catch up. I think that our technology for a long time has outpaced our wisdom as a species. Okay. We have created technologies which are capable of destroying both us and our ecosystem. And now we're starting to realize that. Okay. That's why we're making our cars burn cleaner. That's why everybody's being eco-friendly and environmentally, trying not to produce toxic waste, trying not to litter, trying not to waste. Oh, you can't dump that down the drain. Watch out for the water supply. People are waking up to this. Because our global consciousness is starting to catch up with our technology. And even Einstein said that. He's like, oh, God, now we can split atoms. And what are we going to do with it? Boil water. That's just really smart, guys. At this point, our technology has outpaced our wisdom, and only bad things can come from that. That's what Einstein said, and he was absolutely right. But thanks to the internet and computers and global awareness, people are waking up, and now they're educating themselves, and they're starting to understand this. And so there is a chance that we'll get on top of this, okay? But it takes people like me and you to go out and shake people by the shoulders and wake them up. And the other sane environmentalists, everybody, if you watch this or listen to this, you must look for, I think his name is Adam, the Sane Environmentalist or something, but it's this little kid, and he's in the backseat of his mom's car, and he's throwing a fit, and he's like, they're littering and killing everything, and it makes me so mad. I just want to punch him in the face. Little 5-year-old kid, and he's very aware. He knows about the litter. He knows about the death of the oceans. He knows about radiation. That whole generation is coming up, and when they do, they are going to fuck us up.
No, they're not. Look, this is.
And I apologize for using that.
But you know what? That's actually I reject that.
They're gonna fix it. Is what I'm saying.
No, they're not.
Okay, they're the evolution of our
honestly,
wisdom.
We're it. It's not. We have a responsibility to the children. This is why,
Agreed.
I do not believe that we are going to fix this. I think this is so monumental. We're not even being told how much there is. And that's the hive mint. This is the thing. It's like the whole idea of not saying anything and allowing the murder of our environment, it's just, to me, it's incomprehensible. I am
It is.
stunned that we do not know how much, like, you're doing these videos, finding out information that you're reading, and it's stunning, and it leaves our brains because it's so overwhelming that when we come back to
Yeah.
it, it feels like brand new information. You're like, oh my God, I forgot. Like, go look on this website for Hanford or Diablo Canyon, how much we are really throwing in, how much accidents, how much radioactivity. I mean, and nobody is counting where the oncology rates. There's no real studies, epidemiological studies. They deny that it causes those microencephaly babies up there. It's an unconscionable act that's being perpetrated on the people by the corporations. This is like, it's a crime against Mother Earth.
Yeah, and humanity.
Yes.
And humanity. But the point I was making, Lonnie, is that what I see in the kids today that are 5, 6, 4, 7, okay, I see a whole generation of children who don't know life without the internet or cell phones or high tech. Okay, the technology for them is old news already. Okay,
Well, like we were with television.
They're becoming aware of the environment now, and they're seeing the destruction of the environment, and they are becoming mad about that. And when I said they're going to jack us up, what I mean is they're going to jack up our thought processes to get it right. When that generation gets into power, as long as we're still around, they will, I predict. They're going to be the ones that finally, that's the turning point where our wisdom starts to really equal our technology, and then we can move forward in an ecologically sustainable manner. It's not that we're evil as humanity.
Look, Jerome, my point is this. I'm not waiting for the kids. I'm waiting for us to start demanding of our elected officials that I don't care what the laws are. So we want our lives back. I mean, who cares? Whatever the laws are, that doesn't matter. If there's more of us than there are of the few politicians enforcing these laws and keeping the complete silence, if everybody decided, oh my gosh, look at what is happening to us. We're going to show up at the city council meetings. I mean, for real, it would stop it. Like, it's outrageous that people do not know where the nuclear pollution is in their communities, where the chemical, you can look on a brownfields map, you can look on the sites, they're on the government websites. But what they don't talk about is how it affects the neighborhoods, how it affects the people living there. The cancer rates, the oncology rates.
There's houses right a mile from the Rocky Flats site, and that is a hideous thing. They basically just quickly buried that over. I uploaded an interview with a lady that worked at Rocky Flats for 25 years, and she tells about the whole culture, the whole thing at Rocky Flats. It was, let's put it this way, she worked a glove box making plutonium triggers. She got cancer and lost both of her breasts.
Wow.
Okay, and at that point, the U.S. Department of Energy had never informed her that it's possible that she could get cancer from radiation, especially with her boobs stuck right up against the glove box. Her most sensitive cancer, she should have had a lead vest over her chest, but no. She just said, there's a little micro leak or something. Don't worry about it, just radiation. It'll make your hair fall out. Watch out.
Well, there's a whole documentary, Jerome, about women. Well, there's a whole documentary about how, but the women are the ones who went to work in a lot of these places. And that's the interesting
Well, she was the only woman there. She was pretty much the only woman there.
Mm-hmm.
She said that, it was a male-dominated culture, and it was difficult for her because she was working with these crucibles of plutonium metal that weigh like 65 pounds, and she had to lift them literally over her head from the furnace and drop them down so that she could demold them and then clean them up. That's what her job was. Okay, and then she went to maintenance, and then she went to the sheet metal shop, and that's where she was when they decommissioned the plant. And she said, they just basically buried it over real quick. They just put a whole shitload of soil on top of it, and planted grass, and now it's a wildlife refuge where kids go and play with the playground. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's a swing set there.
I saw this documentary about the women working in the nuclear industry, and it was about
they did.
Yeah,
all men were at war back then, right? Think about it. The women made the bombs. They made all the munitions.
No,
it was women in those plants. Riveter? What was her name? Rosie the Riveter. Women were in World War II. They were a gigantic part of the war machine. They built the weapons. They built the tanks. They're the ones that.
Yeah,
built
but
weapons.
They did not build the nuclear weapon. That's a male dominated. I saw a documentary about women who worked in factories that process nuclear stuff, and it affects women so much more. That's the amazing. See, women and children are the most.
Radiation damages women twice as bad as it does men. You guys your reproductive and other systems are spread out more across your body than a man. Men are more centralized, and so we're harder to damage, I think, DNA-wise. But women are twice as susceptible to radiation damage as men.
And children are it's really sad, too. And children
are 100 times as susceptible to radiation damage as are adults. Infants are 1,000 times. And a baby in utero is like 1,000,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the earlier it is in its process of development, the more hideous damage to the DNA is. If you damage the structure of something when it's just at its beginning, then the whole structure is weakened. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so when you finish, you have a structure, but the whole structure is going to fall over, and that's the. So yeah. And it's like, a safe dose for 0.01 microsievert. That's safe for an adult male. Okay, double that make that half for a female, and then 100 times that less for a kid in a playground on the ground playing in the sand.
See, this is the thing. We don't even know what's out there. This is the thing that just stuns me. Like you were saying how plutonium becomes americium, right? So this could account for all the different, like they know that the plutonium that was there, plutonium's half-life is 24,500 years. So we're going to have it for that long at least.
Right.
And then there's other things that came with it, but we don't even really know what's in our air, what's in our water, we literally are accepting a planet where we're arguing about climate change without even discussing nuclear. When I mention the idea that nuclear pollution has contributed to global warming, eyes fall out of their heads. Like, I talk to my professors or other activists, then they're other than the true nuke truthers, but they look at me like, well, no, I think you don't understand the nature of it. And I'm like, no, I think you're discounting the harm that it does. This stuff kills life. It's not like nuclear pollution can just go into the rivers. Look at the dead zones. You're reporting dead zones from Tokyo Bay all the way around up to the West Coast in Japan.
Right. And actually, most of the East Coast of the United States. Did you know that? And a good section of the West Coast of the United States is now popping up as dead zones, up in the northern parts of the West Coast. Right where the radiation all hit. It's all dead zones now.
Well, New York City is still dumping tritium.
Dead.
Yeah. And Turkey
Point down in Florida. Is because tritium has a half-life, I think, of 17 years, right? They consider it to be a safe product.
I know. Well, the deal is they can't stop it. See, this is the thing. You can't get tritium out of water. It's H2-3. So that's why, because it's H2O is part of it, and you're not going to get H2O out of H2-3. You're not going to separate it.
Right.
You can't get tritium out of the water.
It's hydrogen.
Well,
yeah, it's hydrogen. Tritium is H3, okay? So when you make water with it, it's H3-2O. It is tritiated water or heavy water.
Oh, okay.
They use that as tritiated water in breeder reactors.
So
that's what they
this
use.
is a basic chemistry class here, huh?
Well, yeah, that's what
yeah,
a
maybe
lot of it
that's
has
another
boiled
thing
down
that we
to.
need to do.
It's boiled down to I have to like go back to the very basics and learn nuclear physics. The Sane Environmentalist,
yes.
have to learn nuclear physics in order to be able to help protect the environment. And I will do that. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm going to ride, Lonnie, on my bicycle all the way around the entire coastline of the United States next year.
Oh.
I'm gonna build a weird little some kind of camper thing that I can pull behind my bicycle. I'm going to go from city to city. I'm going to go from coast to coast. I'm going to learn to snorkel and get an underwater camera. Maybe I can get...
I don't think you should snorkel. I think you should stay out of the water. I'm very much against anybody being in the water with that much. Your skin is very porous. I do not agree with that. I'm just going to tell you that.
Yeah, but still...
That's my opinion.
Still, somebody's got to go out there and they got to look, right?
Well, there's other ways to look. Get an underwater camera and stick it under there.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, you know what I mean?
And I'd be willing to do that.
Because that's a lot safer.
And the whole way I can eat all the crabs and shrimp that I find along the coast, right?
Exactly.
And by the time I get to the southern part of California, I won't even need a flashlight anymore.
Exactly.
Because I'll glow in the dark.
Exactly. Well,
that's a myth, and it's funny. But
well, it is a myth because people. I mean, the reason that we laugh about it, the reason we ignore it is what Ed and I talked about yesterday. It's really the mindset, sort of the brainwashing, as people call it, brainwashing. But it's really like hive thinking. They don't tell us how to think. We just automatically go along with it, and we get their signals before they don't have to tell us anything. We just like, oh yeah, we're not talking about that. That's why it's like abnormal to say, hey, wait a minute, man, we have radioactive pollution, plutonium, real isotopes. This isn't just like whitewash, you know what I mean? We have to figure out exactly how to live without poisoning ourselves if we're going to survive through this period of time.
Exactly.
Well, this is why I'm going to urge you.
And that's
I know
why I have so much hope in these 5 and 6 year olds, because they're the ones that are going to be able to institute that learning, because they're getting mad about it.
Well, I don't know if they'll get mad, but they're going to get serious. Like, it's their future. If they don't come up with solutions, they're going to die very young. Like, that's the answer.
Well, so who should we be educating, Lonnie?
Well, I think we have solutions.
Should we educate the old folks, or should we be talking to the kids about this? Is it appropriate to tell children that there's radioactive poison all over the planet they will die from it?
That's another conversation. We have 2 minutes left. My short answer is not real. I mean, not really. I mean, I think you need to tell children about it a little bit, but I don't think you need to go into it because there are solutions that are being held back. I think it's a better idea to talk to children about what it means to eat real healthy food, why it's super important, because if you don't, it makes you vulnerable to being sick. That's the key reason. And there's a lot of...
I wish I would have had a mom like you. You're wonderful. I love you, Lonnie.
Well,
you're a wonderful person. Thank you so much for all your hard work, everything you do. You are my partner in this process that we're going through. And,
well, Jerome, we've got 20 seconds. Thank you for those accolades. It was very well received. I appreciate that. Please follow Jerome. He's called the Sane Environmentalist on YouTube, you guys. We really appreciate you listening and hanging in there with our meandering conversation, but I think we went somewhere. I'm going to ask Jerome to come back. We can finish this all up. Put your courage feet on. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
See you.